Today we are going to seam seal an Ettowah Outfitter's Ben's Bushcraft BCUSA tarp. You've seen this tarp in the past in a couple of my videos, and the time has come for me to do the maintenance that it needs. It should be seam sealed. The product we're going to use to actually accomplish the sealing is called Gear-Aid Seam Sure. I've used this product in the past, and while there are other products similar to this on the market, this is the one that I know will work. It's also, I think it's Ben's Bushcraft that recommends this one specifically. It might be BCUSA, I can't recall. But one of the people who sell this tarp do recommend this product exclusively as well. I'll give you a look at how I've got this set up, and I'll tell you why we're going to do it the way we're doing it. What I've done is, this is my mom's old clothesline here from when I was a kid. It hasn't been used in years, but the posts are about 20 feet apart. So I took some paracord. I wrapped it around both posts, and I put a trucker's hitch in one side, and I tightened it up not too stiff. And I did that around the posts instead of in one continuous ridge line to create a flat surface to work on. It'll become evident why I do that here shortly. One of the things that people often ask, and I see in the forums and etc. when the conversation about sealing the seams on a waterproof tarp come up, is which side of the tarp do you want to seal? I do the outside. You could do the inside, but the outside is the better choice. The reason this question comes up is that tent manufacturers, just about all of them that talk about how to seal the seams on just about any tent, they say to do the inside. The reason for that is actually because your tent is pitched. You can get to the inside seams safely without, getting up on a ladder or hanging way over the top of the tent to get to seams that are far away for you to reach. That's the reason tent manufacturers have you seal the inside of the seam. I think that the other possible reason is, of course, UV exposure. Products like this tend to, break down from the sun, but so does the nylon, so does polyester, so does just about any modern material that you would make a tent or a tarp from. So I don't think that this is a whole lot more susceptible than the nylon itself is. Okay, what I did was I wrapped a ridge line all the way around these two posts, and that was to create a flat surface to work on. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take some masking tape, and I'm going to tape the seam off so that I don't make a big mess on the outside of my tarp, because this is going to be on the visible side. This is entirely up to you. Entirely up to you. Normally, I wouldn't really care if I had some drips and a few little lines from excess hanging around on my tarp, because I don't care. But a lot of people do care. A lot of people want things to be nice and clean and tidy, and there's something to be said for nice straight lines. So I am going to masking tape this. Now you'll notice I'm using the blue masking tape. This is for no particular reason other than it shows up nice in the camera. Regular old brown tan masking tape is just fine. I don't have there's no chemical reason or anything that I'm using the blue stuff, and it is more expensive than just regular brown stuff. The reason I'm using it is quite simply it shows up on camera better. So use what you want to use. Okay, I am going to get right to it, I think, and I think that that's about all there is to say about my reasons for doing it the way that I do. Oh, there is one other thing to say. Now, I'll try to get this on the camera before I'm all done, but I did stretch this center seam by its tie out on both sides, but not super tightly. Just about every time I see this conversation in the forums, or there are a lot of videos on YouTube of guys doing some seam sealing, usually with silicone on sil nylon tarps. They think that you should stretch this seam because that opens up the little gaps of what we're actually trying to seal. What we're actually trying to seal is the needle holes from the threads that make the center seam. The fabrics, these tarps and things are made out of are already waterproofed. In this one's case, this is a 3,000 millimeter water column rated polyurethane coating. The fabric itself is perfectly waterproof. You know, it's good stuff. What isn't entirely waterproof is the fact that a sewing machine was used in 2 lines down the whole center seam, so it's poked zillions of little holes across here, and that's what we want to fill in. Normally when people are seam sealing, they like to talk about this, that so you got to stretch that center seam so that any of these holes that might get stretched open that are leaking on you are going to get filled in. Well, my argument is that you don't always pitch your tarp exactly the same way every single time you pitch your tarp. Are you always stretching the center seam a whole bunch? Or sometimes do you hang it kitty corner? Or sometimes do you do a porched lean-to? Or, you know, you're not always stretching it exactly the same way. So, you know, I put a little bit of tension on this. What I'm going to rely on is this little bristle brush on the applicator, digging under these threads, and I'm going to rely on this being liquidy stuff that's going to soak in here. I did mention that you could possibly seam seal the opposite side if you wanted to. The only reason that I don't do the opposite side is, again, I want this stuff to soak in, and the nylon side of this tarp, you know, it has some chance to actually soak into the nylon, but it can't soak into the polyurethane coating on the other side of the tarp, so it'll just remain wet longer. You still might get all the holes filled in and the thread nicely, you know, saturated by doing the other side, but it'll take a whole lot longer to dry. Okay, I'm gonna get to work. Okay, so as I said, the first step I'm going to take is masking the area that I want to work on. And again, this is just for neatness sake. You know, this step, if you don't want to do this, this isn't the most important step of this process. This is just to keep your work looking nice and clean, and keep the, you know, an item that you own looking good. Because this, you know, the seam sealer dries kind of a little bit shiny when it's all done, and you know, you'll be able to notice it's going to be a little bit discolored compared to the rest of the tarp. So yeah, it's something that you'll be able to see it. You know, most other people might not know or care. You know, but yeah, if you're one of those folks who really just you know, you spent the money on a nice, expensive product and you want to keep it looking pretty, but you know, you've discovered that this thing needs to be seam sealed. Yeah, this is how you keep it looking nice when you do that. There we go. We've got a nice double line of masking tape, and we can start seam sealing. I'll show you this real quick. This is how it's just gotta, if this is down, the valve is closed. If it's up, the valve is open. Okay, so you see my threads are in between my masking tape. My masking tape is coming up a little bit, but I'm just gonna live with that. Now, the applicator has this brush on the end, And so we get some liquid out here into this brush, and I dripped a little bit because I was trying to hold the camera at the same time as operate the sealer. And apparently I do have a little leak here anyway. There we go. So you want to get these threads, you pick at these threads with the brush. You can be as liberal as you want to be with the application of this stuff, but the whole point here really is to just rub it into these threads where the sewing machine has poked through the tarp to sew it together. That's the entire goal here. All right, I'm going to hang the camera back up on the tripod so I don't get any of this goop on the camera. Now, I am pretty liberal with the application of this, and then when we come to one of these ridgeline tie-outs, I really get the base of it very, very well soaked. I think that my experience with my previous Ettowah Outfitters, BCUSA, Ben's, Bushcraft tarp, was that one had a leak along the center seam that appeared to originate at one of the tie-outs. You know, it wasn't the very center one, but one on one side or the other from you know, the last tie-out on the ridge line. So the tie-outs I pay particular attention to when I'm sealing one of these, and this is not the first one this year. You've seen this tarp in a couple of previous videos, but and I was a little tough on it, you know, when I compared it to some other tarps, but I have had reason to have my hands on a couple of others of just like this one in recent times. One for a friend of mine, and another one that I have kind of a very specific purpose for, and you'll see it in a future video later this summer. And again, you know, I'm using this applicator brush to make sure that all of these threads get picked at with the brushes and that the sealer soaks in to the thread holes, and that really is the whole point to doing this at all. That's what we're doing, is we're trying to fill the holes that were left by the sewing machine. And this product is the one to use. Okay, I believe I have completed what we can do for the moment, and then what's next basically is to let this dry for 48 hours. We just let it sit out here in the wind and the sun for, I think I said 48, but it's 24 hours. Just leave it overnight, and then tomorrow afternoon I can revisit this and you know, pull the stakes I've got, you know, hanging there, and gather back up all of my paracord and these little pieces of bank line that I used to stretch it. But this is now a seam sealed Ettowah Outfitters Ben's Bushcraft BCUSA. I appreciate you coming out to the farm on another beautiful day like this with me again today. I appreciate all the time you folks take watching my videos. I really do appreciate your time. It's very kind of you to spend your time watching my videos. You know, if this information was useful to you, you know, give me a thumbs up down there. And if you are not currently a subscriber, you know, consider clicking that subscribe button. I think I've got some interesting content coming up, and there might even be a few good videos behind me so far. That's it. That's it. I hope the rest of your day goes really, really well. Bye-bye now.